My thesis in life is self-doubt is the killer of dreams. And I think that's a challenging thing for people to say, well, how do I learn to believe in self? How do I learn to have accurate thinking, not habitual thinking? How do I learn to doubt my limits as opposed to doubting myself? And how do I learn to act as if my success is for certain when I've always doubted me? What do you say to that?
Manage your remembering. What you go back and what you dwell on. I mean, I can go back just like that. I can think something, I can pull up again and again and again. All these times that I've been embarrassed, I've been humiliated, I've failed, dropped the ball, dwell on that if I want to. But I can also go back and the times that I pulled it off, the times I did it right, I surprised myself, how good it felt when I was good to somebody else. Who are you going to give airtime to? The coach that is closest to you is the voices inside your head.
Self-doubt rarely announces itself loudly. It doesn't crash into our lives like fear or panic. Instead, it whispers. It speaks in pauses, in hesitations, in the moments we almost raised our hand, almost spoke our truth, almost chose ourselves, but didn't. Psychologically, self-doubt is not just a lack of confidence. It is a relationship with the self-one shaped by memory, interpretation, and belief. And what makes self-doubt so powerful is that it doesn't merely affect how we feel. It shapes how we decide, how we connect, how we speak ourselves into existence or out of it. Tonight, we're going to explore self-doubt, not as a personal flaw, but as a psychological process, one that quietly architects the direction of a life. At its core, self-doubt is cognitive uncertainty about one's own competence, worth, or judgment. But that definition is too clinical to capture its reality. Self-doubt is what happens when the mind becomes divided against itself. One part of you wants to act. Another part questions whether you're allowed to. Psychologists often connect self-doubt to metacognition, the way we think about our own thinking. It's not just, can I do this? It's, can I trust myself? And when trust erodes, every decision becomes heavier. Self-doubt often develops early. It grows in environments where mistakes were punished instead of explored. Approval felt conditional. Comparison was constant. Emotional validation was inconsistent. Over time, the brain learns a pattern. Before I act, I must interrogate myself. What begins as caution becomes self-surveillance. Many people believe self-doubt exists to keep them safe. And psychologically, that's not entirely wrong. The inner critic, the voice behind self-doubt, often forms as a defense mechanism. It tries to prevent rejection by pre-rejecting the self. If I criticize myself first, the world can't hurt me as much. But here's the problem. The brain does not distinguish between protective criticism and personal truth. When the inner critic speaks often enough, it becomes an authority. Neuroscientifically, repeated self-doubt strengthens certain neural pathways, especially those tied to threat detection and error monitoring. Your brain becomes excellent at noticing what might go wrong, what you lack, how you compare, and poor at noticing growth, context, resilience. Self-doubt doesn't say you will fail. It says, you probably shouldn't try. And that suggestion is far more dangerous. Every choice carries psychological weight. But self-doubt adds friction to decisions. When someone trusts themselves, decisions flow from values. When someone doubts themselves, decisions flow from fear. Self-doubt leads to overthinking, decision paralysis, chronic second-guessing, outsourcing choices to others. The mind begins to ask, what if I choose wrong? What if this says something bad about me? What if I regret this? And so, many people don't choose at all. Psychologically, this is called avoidant decision, a pattern where inaction feels safer than action. But inaction is still a choice. And over time, it teaches the brain, I don't act, others decide. Life happens to me. This erodes self-efficacy, the belief that your actions matter. And without self-efficacy, motivation collapses. One of the most profound impacts of self-doubt is its relationship with visibility. To choose is to be seen. To act is to risk judgment. Self-doubt convinces people that staying small is safer than being known. So, they downplay their goals, avoid leadership, decline opportunities, stay in familiar discomfort. Psychologically, the brain equates visibility with vulnerability, and self-doubt acts like a dimmer switch on the self. Not because you lack potential, but because you've learned to associate expression with danger. Self-doubt doesn't stop at the individual. It spills into connection. In relationships, self-doubt often appears as over-apologizing, fear of abandonment, difficulty expressing needs, hyperinterpretation of tone and silence. When someone doubts their worth, they begin to ask, am I too much? Am I enough? Do I deserve this? This creates relational anxiety, constant scanning for signs of rejection. People with self-doubt may stay silent to avoid conflict, accept less than they need, seek reassurance, but struggle to believe it. Because self-doubt tells them, if they really knew you, they might leave. This belief turns connection into performance. Instead of showing up authentically, people manage impressions. They edit themselves. They shrink their truth, and intimacy suffers, not because of lack of care, but because of lack of self-trust. Perhaps the most overlooked place self-doubt lives is speech. Listen closely to someone who doubts themselves. You'll hear it in their language. I could be wrong, but this might sound stupid. It's probably nothing. I don't know if this makes sense. These phrases seem polite. But psychologically, they pre-invalidate the speaker. Self-doubt teaches people to soften their presence before the world has a chance to respond. Over time, speech becomes less assertive, less direct, less embodied. The voice literally carries uncertainty, and the brain takes notes. Every time you minimize your words, your mind learns. My thoughts require permission. Self-doubt does not mean you are broken. It means you learned to survive in a world that made certainty feel unsafe. But growth begins when you recognize this truth. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. It is the willingness to act despite it. The goal is not to silence self-doubt forever. The goal is to stop letting it make your decisions, to speak before you're perfectly ready, to choose before certainty arrives, to trust that being human and certain, imperfect, learning is not a flaw. Self-doubt asks, what if I fail? A healthier voice responds, what if I grow? And sometimes, that single shift is enough to reclaim your choices, your relationships, and your voice.
You're going to give airtime to the coach that is closest to you is the voices inside your head.